Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today was by far one of the most requested stories of the day today, and that is Cam Newton back in the news. Although this time it wasn't because he wore something fantastic and or ridiculous at a press conference. Cam Newton, if you don't know, is a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. He's a mobile QB, but also has a deep ball. Some say he throws the football even better than how he throws laptops out of windows. That's an inside joke that only some of you know. The main point, he was in the news for something he did during a press conference. So here's what happened. Jordan Rodrigue, a beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, asked this question and got this response.
I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes, like, it's funny.
And as you might imagine, there was some outrage to this moment. People saying that was incredibly rude, dismissive, sexist of Cam Newton. Jordan Rodrigue also later went to Twitter tweeting, "I don't think it's funny to be a female and talk about routes. I think it's my job." Then later, when speaking with someone from the NFL Network, she issued the statement, "This afternoon, I did my job as an NFL beat writer and asked Cam Newton a question about one of his receivers. I was dismayed by his response, which not only belittled me, but countless other women before me and beside me who work in similar jobs. I sought Mr. Newton out as he left the locker room a few minutes later. He did not apologize for his comments." But then the situation gets a little more cringy. The Charlotte Observer talked to Jordan about the interaction she had with Cam Newton after the press conference, and according to Jordan, she asked the quarterback if he really didn't think a female could understand routes. Newton then said she wasn't really seeing specific routes when watching the game, she was just seeing if somebody was open. She argued that he didn't know what she saw, nor how hard she had studied football, and that maybe the two of them needed to have a deeper conversation. Newton said that maybe he should have said that it was funny to hear reporters talk about routes, and that if she actually did know about them, then she knew more than most reporters. Then he gestured toward the locker room still filled with her colleagues. So essentially he was like, maybe I shouldn't have said, women are too stupid to understand routes. I meant reporters. Not an entire gender. I should have just talked about the profession. If that's true, that statement just feels a little weird and half-assed. I mean, let's put the shoe on the other foot here. It feels a little bit like if someone had said, "It's really funny just hearing a black guy talk about an insert blank anything." And afterwards, when you're apologizing but not apologizing, you say, maybe I should have said, financial planners. Financial planners, not the specific characteristic of who you are that I isolated. And in response to all of this, a Panthers spokesperson said, "I've spoken with Jordan and Cam, and I know they had a conversation where he expressed regret for using those words. We strive as a department to make the environment for media comfortable for everyone covering the team." NFL spokesperson Brian McCarthy saying, "The comments are just plain wrong and disrespectful to the exceptional female reporters and all journalists. They do not reflect the thinking of the league." But of course, all of this right now we're talking about, it's just words. Was there any real world impact here? Well, actually, yes. As of this morning, the yogurt company Dannon announced they are cutting ties with him. Dannon issuing the statement, "We are shocked and disheartened at the behavior and comments of Cam Newton towards Jordan Rodrigue, which we perceive as sexist and disparaging to all women. It is entirely inconsistent with our commitment to fostering equality and inclusion in every workplace. It's simply not okay to belittle anyone based on gender. We have shared our concerns with Cam and will no longer work with him." There was also some back and forth following this. Cam Newton's marketing agent said that Dannon had actually not cut ties, that they actually can't legally, to which Dannon responded, "Correct, the deal hasn't been terminated. However, they will no longer work with him and they are removing him from advertisements." So from all of that, it doesn't sound like Cam Newton's losing any money, it's just a brand distancing themselves. And as of right now, it doesn't look like this has affected any of his other endorsement deals. Those being with Under Armour, Gatorade, Microsoft, Beats by Dre. And of course, there was the question of what were the fans' reactions? There are a lot of people saying this is bad, that he needs to apologize. Also, a lot of people defending Cam Newton, saying there's no reason he should apologize. And one of the common themes I saw in the people defending Cam is, women don't watch football. They often don't know anything about the sport. But it turns out that might be your personal life experience. Overall, that's just a misconception. According to reports we've seen from the past few years, the NFL audience is actually 45% women. And that's even just talking about women in general, not what we're dealing with this specific situation, which is a woman who went into this career path, and to survive, she would need to know what she's talking about. Also, one of the latest updates to this story is Jordan Rodrigue is now under fire as well. This, of course, because when you get thrust into the national spotlight, everyone starts going through your past. People found tweets from her in 2012, 2013. She tweeted, "My dad is being super racist as we pass through Navajo land." Another reading, "He's the best, racist jokes the whole drive home." Jordan has since responded tweeting, "I apologize for the offensive tweets from my Twitter account from 4 or 5 years ago. There is no excuse for these tweets and the sentiment behind them. I am deeply sorry and apologize." But that said, I want to pass the question off to you. Do you think that Cam is in the wrong here? Yes or no? Do you think it's a big deal? Is it being blown out of proportion? Let me know what you think think on this one. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by Audible. If you haven't heard already, I teamed up with Audible for the official DeFranco book club. And this month, the book we're going through is Sleeping Beauties. It is the latest novel from Stephen King. And it's incredibly easy to be a part of. Audible's offering you beauties a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. You just have to go to audible.com/PhillyD and you can start listening. And if you just wanted a free audiobook, cool, you can choose whatever. If you want to be a part of the DeFranco book club, choose Sleeping Beauties. You download it, you listen to it. If you actually want to be in the video, you can go to DeFrancoBookClub.com, submit your responses, your reviews of that book. And for the DeFranco book club, I make a video on youtube.com/PhillyD. Some people are in it, some people just interact in the comments. And just on a random personal note, this book club and Audible has made driving so much better. I've been driving a lot more since the new baby, helping out more, driving my son to and from school. When I'm in the car with my lovely son Trey, we have two options. One, listen to an audiobook because it's essentially story time for Daddy and Trey. Or two, and what was my life for about a week and a half, my son saying, "Play Look What You Made Me Do," over and over and over. No offense to the Swifties, there's just only so much a man can take. But main point, if you want some awesome in your life, more importantly, some free awesome in your life, go to audible.com/PhillyD. Get a free audiobook, 30-day trial, link in the description down below. And the first bit of awesome is everyone who called us out yesterday for accidentally using the wrong picture for Bella Thorne. Myself and the people that helped me fact check the video, I think it just flashes on so fast and your eye goes to King Batch covered in blood. We just didn't realize that editor James did not actually know who Bella Thorne was, but do not worry. We have since informed him and he now follows her on Snapchat. You know, for research purposes. Then in other awesome, we got Terry Crews on Hot Ones. Then if you want to see the most I've seen Harrison Ford laugh in a very long time, I have to share this video that he and Ryan Gosling did with Allison Hammond. Everyone's just losing it. We got a new teaser for Jack Ryan with John Krasinski. And if you want to see the full versions of everything, I just shared the secret link of the day, anything at all. Links as always are in the description down below. Then let's talk about Glee. Remember Glee? Glee was such a big deal for a while. I had so many friends that loved that show. I watched the first season and then I just kind of stopped. But the reason I talk about today is Mark Salling. You remember him? One of the stars of Glee, was a heartthrob. Well, today I have the unfortunate job of ruining part of your childhood because Mark Salling is about to be a registered sex offender. If you don't know the story, reportedly police were tipped off by one of Salling's exes. Then in 2015, the LAPD executed a warrant to search his house, and there they reportedly found 25,000 still images, 600 videos of child pornography. Additionally, they found around 29,000 images of child erotica. According to the prosecutor, some of the victims in the images were 3 to 5 years old. Salling was originally charged with 2 counts of receiving and possessing child pornography, and as of Wednesday, as part of a plea deal, he has pled guilty to 1 count of receiving and possessing child pornography. And so because of this plea deal, Salling is going to have to serve between 4 and 7 years in jail. And also as part of this plea deal, he's going to have to register as a sex offender, participate in counseling, spend 20 years under supervised release, during which his internet use will be monitored and controlled. Additionally, Salling will also have to pay $50,000 to each victim who submits a restitution request. And on top of that, prosecutors are seeking additional fines against him. And a question I want to ask around this story is, do you think that this punishment is enough? Or on the opposite end, and I've seen this argument from some people, is it too much? This, of course, coming from people debating that this person was just consuming content online, they weren't actually doing anything to children. But of course, the argument against that is, no, you're still dealing with a victim here, and this person is participating. They're part of the reason. And for this video, I'll save the 2 minutes of rage of what I think about people like this, and I'll just ask you what you think about it. Then in Netflix news, if you are a subscriber to Netflix, your prices may be going up. Netflix announced today that if you're a member of their premium tier, you get Ultra HD, up to 4 screens. That is going from $11.99 to $13.99. Or if you're a member of their standard tier, that's going from $9.99 to $10.99. And finally, if you're a member of their basic tier, you're actually staying at $7.99. And so what this means for you is if you're an existing subscriber, as of November, this will be your new rate. Or if you currently don't have an account, as of today, this will be your new price. Now, will Netflix lose some subscribers from this? Yes. I mean, just look back to 2016. They announced a price increase. They lost some subscribers. Their growth slowed down. But overall, it's a win for them. Netflix has over 100 million subscribers worldwide. So what we're seeing today is a change of $0 for basic, $1 for standard, and $2 for premium. So if you just do some dumb top-level math, we don't know the exact numbers and the splits between each tier of how many subscribers they have for each one. Let's say after you consolidate all the numbers, you're getting the equivalent of $1 extra per customer per month. The number of people unsubscribing will be minimal, and all of a sudden you're looking at an extra $100 million a month of revenue. And honestly, if they're just putting that money into more originals like Stranger Things, they're paying comedians to bring their comedy specials to Netflix, yes, you're gonna see more and more companies like the Disneys of the world pulling their things off of Netflix like we're seeing now. And so a lot of the worth for a lot of these places is going to come from originals, and I think that Netflix has a pretty damn good track record there. But also, that's my personal takeaway from this. A question to you. Do you think that if you're a member of the premium tier, is an extra $2 a month, $24 a year enough to make you pull your subscription away? I'd love to hear from you. And then let's talk about a story that has just blown up over the past 24 hours. There has been so much controversy around this. And you may have seen a headline like this one from Out.com reading, U.S. votes against UN ban on death penalty for homosexuality. And you had people up in arms saying, how is this the United States? How is the U.S. not condemning the death penalty for people just being gay? The resolution specifically blocking, quote, the imposition of the death penalty as a sanction for specific forms of conduct, such as apostasy, blasphemy, adultery, and consensual same-sex relations. Some of the other countries that joined the United States with this no vote included the UAE, Saudi Arabia, which of course currently maintains the death penalty for the crime of sodomy, Iraq, India, Qatar, Bangladesh, and the list continues. Ultimately, though, the motion did pass in a vote of 27 to 13. But of course, that brings us back to the question of why? Why would the United States do this? Well, it turns out the situation wasn't as simple as many of the outlets made you believe. Despite what all the headlines said, this resolution wasn't just about the death penalty for homosexuality. This resolution was about the death penalty in general. It was literally titled, The Question of the Death Penalty. The resolution, among other things, urged states to end the death penalty. Abolish it, get rid of it. It also goes into those specifics like no death penalty for homosexuality. Another way sites could have misled people. They could have said America voted no on condemning the death penalty against pregnant women. That's in there as well. There's also language in the document that read, the death penalty is a form of torture or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. And of course, there are places in the United States where the death penalty is legal. And so the United States voted no, and in fact, the United States has a history outside of the Trump administration of voting no or abstaining when it comes to the death penalty. And in response to the outrage, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, tweeted, the vote that took place in Geneva is the same U.S. vote that took place under the Obama admin. It was not a vote against LGBT. The press secretary of the State Department also tried to clarify why the United States voted no.
The United States is disappointed to have voted against that resolution. We voted against that resolution because of broader concerns with the resolution's approach in condemning the death penalty in all circumstances, and it called for the abolition of the death penalty altogether. We had hoped for a balanced and inclusive resolution that would better reflect the positions of states that continue to apply the death penalty lawfully, as the United States does. The United States unequivocally condemns the application of the death penalty for conduct such as homosexuality, blasphemy, adultery, and apostasy. We do not consider such conduct appropriate for criminalization.
And it should also be noted that the United States also tried to avoid this situation. The U.S. backed 2 amendments to this resolution. They were put forward by Russia. And those amendments meant to clarify that the death penalty is not necessarily a human rights violation. And so that would have provided a change that would allow the United States to say death penalty for homosexuality, no, that's ridiculous, we condemn it. But at the same time, not throw certain U.S. states under the bus. And ultimately where I land on this is I'm a bit disappointed with how this was covered. I truly understand why places like The Independent have headlines that read U.S. votes against UN resolution condemning gay sex death penalty joining Iraq and Saudi Arabia. Over 264,000 shares? Damn! And it's technically true, but also incredibly misleading. Like if there was a document that condemned the Westboro Baptist Church, those hateful assholes. But then also there was a part of that document that said if you sign this, you have to fuck your own mother. You'd probably, hopefully, not sign that thing. And then technically places could report that you refused to sign, you voted no, when you were given the option to condemn the Westboro Baptist Church. Obviously, we're talking about different extremes in this situation. One is incest, the other is you don't want to go against state death penalty laws. But hopefully that stupid analogy can help you understand how a headline can technically be accurate, but also incredibly misleading. Also, I want to give some props to Outright Action International. Unlike other LGBT positive organizations like HRC Global, the ILGA, who ran with this simplistic narrative, Outright Action International released a statement saying there's been some misreporting and misconception. The U.S. always opposes this death penalty resolution because it makes reference to a global moratorium on the death penalty. For both Obama and Trump, so long as the death penalty is legal in the U.S., it takes this position. Outright will call out the Trump administration on its many rights violations, its many abuses of power from LGBTI violations to xenophobia. But this particular instance is not an example of a contraction of support on LGBTI rights. And personally, I think that's a fantastic example of how you handle the situation and how you get people to respect respect what you're saying. That said, there is kind of a silver lining to this story. With so many people that were misled to believe the situation was a lot more black and white than it actually was, it was nice to see people kind of come up as an ally. Granted, the mindset of you shouldn't be killed because you were born the way you are is a pretty low bar for an ally, but it's a start. I saw people on my Facebook timeline back from high school that were so homophobic they wouldn't even like rainbows. Even they were like, this can't stand. But yeah, that's where we're gonna end today's show. Of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on this last story, the first one, anything in between. So let me know your opinions, where you're coming from in those comments down below. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you wanna catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you wanna see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.